And we're on. Jordan Smith,
That is me.
how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's been a very, very busy time, just in general with work and personally, but we're chilling finally.
We are chilling. We've
Yeah.
uh, we've had to move this around, and we finally got here. And as I was telling you, like before this year, kind of this persona that I actually really, really want to get to know and to hear your story and to hear what you're about, and because working with you has been so refreshing for me. Um, we've done an album together. We're still working on it for Chroma.
Yes.
And it's just, man, it's just such a breath of fresh air to me to work with a woman in this industry. And
Well,
I would
thank
love
you.
for you to tell me about your journey and how you got to where you are, and yeah, tell me what you're up to.
Yeah. Well, the journey is long. Um, I guess I could start. I graduated high school not knowing what I wanted to do with my life, which is, typical. You're only 18 years old. Then I went to community college and then I figured out like I still want to work in like I play the clarinet, not the sexiest of instruments, and I like flipped burgers, like trying to get myself through school. So people call me Squidward a lot. Um, but I realized that I wanted to go to school for music, but not to perform, not at all. Like, I'm not a performer. And so I had to pick up the clarinet again if I wanted to get into the music program at Cal State Northridge. So I did that, got into Cal State Northridge. I didn't know that I was that good at the clarinet to even like get in on the collegiate level, but worked. And then graduated, did many internships because it's all about connections and your resume has to be filled to the brim of work. Um, and my first job of within the trailer realm was at Seismic Productions. They are a trailer production company, and being able to work there was really cool because you got to do everything. And I think that's what I like about the trailer business is that every day is new because you're always working on a new and different campaign. Like one day you'll be working on a children's movie, and then the next day you'll be working on a really scary movie. So it's like so different, and I love that. Um, but then, of course, the pandemic hit, and so then I got laid off. Went back to working at Whole Foods only for like 6 months, and then I got a job at a sports broadcasting company in the music department, just doing cue sheets all day long. And that, let me tell you, not fun. Because it's cue sheets. I mean, everyone I feel like in the sync industry has to put in their dues and work on cue sheets for a while. I mean, at least that's what everyone tells me. And they're like, "Oh, yep, you're in the cue sheet realm." And so a lot of cue sheets, like at least 50 a day type of processing because it was sports. And, there's a lot of sports going on in the world. I know nothing about sports. I just really needed a job. And I needed a job that had, like, music in it. So did that and helped them revamp their whole music department and figuring out the structure. I wrote out their how to manual guides and all of that. So I am a very organized person, very organized. Then, after 2 years of being there, I landed this job. I said it was time to go, time to move on from sports. And there wasn't like an opportunity for me to move up in the company as well. And I felt like I've learned everything that I needed to learn within that company too. So I was like, well, time to go. And so I left, and Chroma I applied to Chroma on like a sync Facebook group. So that was cool. Just there's, you know what, Facebook groups, like I know a lot of people don't use Facebook, but there's a lot of posting still that go on through Facebook. Job opportunities for sure. So I saw that and I applied. And honestly, within a week, I was like hired. Like I interviewed that Tuesday. He offered me the job that Thursday, and I accepted it the following Tuesday because I was interviewing at a lot of places and I was seeing like what everyone's job offer was. So then, yeah, landed at Chroma. Sorry, I don't know if this is too long, but um, but yeah, I've been at Chroma since July of last year, and I've been doing a lot of cleaning up because the organized person I am, I have to clean everything I see, or else my brain does not move forward. I'm like, well, if this isn't in order, then how can I complete tasks A, B, and C? That doesn't make sense to me. So it's a lot of cleaning, making sure that everything is correct, just because it's a small company. And so it's not like they have these huge systems of organization. And so I felt like, well, maybe that's why they brought me in. I mean, maybe that's like being a woman in the industry is. It's like having that eye for detail, that woman's touch of organizing everything. Um, so yeah, and not just organizing, but I'm learning a lot because I wasn't able to learn a lot at well, I learned all that I could learn at the sports broadcasting company, but I'm learning a lot more with quote requests, licenses, sending out invoices, POs, all the vendors, uh, learning all the names who are at the production companies, all the editors and stuff like that. So I'm learning, I think this point is more me knowing names, building relationships, understanding what more briefs look like and all that stuff.
Mm. Okay, wait. So you asked if you are if you're saying too much, but I think you're saying I would actually like to reverse and kind
Okay.
of ask a few questions because so you grew up in California?
Yes. Yeah. Grew up in
Okay.
California, born and raised,
Okay.
Southern California, Palm Springs, born, and then I was raised in Marietta. It's near Temecula. It's a very, 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 very small town. I mean, now it's grown like double from when me and my family first moved there,
Yeah.
but still, it's pretty small.
Yeah, but now you're in the big city in LA.
Yeah, now I'm in LA.
Yeah, I've
Lived
never been, by the way. I'm going to. I made it a point to visit it in the coming year, so you might be seeing me around.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I back to you. So it's fascinating to me how again like people give up their craft of music or whatnot and go into the knowing that you want to do something that has to do with music, but it doesn't have to be composing or it doesn't have to be playing the clarinet or so that point for you was after high school, yeah, when you wanted to apply to college.
Yeah, because I mean, I played the clarinet from 5th grade all throughout, like from 5th grade to high school. So however many years that is. So that's like
Yeah.
a good chunk of my life. But I realized like, you know, when I got to CSUN, I just knew that I was like doing the right thing, the right major, the right specialty, just because the performance majors and the majors who want to like focus on composing, their dedication is much more than I could ever put out because they're practicing their instruments like 8 hours a day. Like this is a real, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to play the clarinet 8 hours a day. That sounds exhausting. I remember myself in the practice rooms of CSUN and wanting to bang my head against the piano because
Mm,
I
mm,
was like, this is so hard. I don't have the patience. Um, do I enjoy? Like I enjoyed learning. I love playing with an ensemble. um, because I like contributing to something bigger, and I don't like being on stage by myself. I have performance anxiety, but if I'm in a cluster of people, then I don't feel like all eyes are on me. Um, but when I did have to do like juries where it's like you're learning 12 to 15 minutes worth of music that you have to play in front of a jury of professors and they are judging you and
Mhm.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy music. I just know that I'm not the performer. I'm not the performer type. So I found a niche, a place where my abilities can be used somewhere else. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, because I mean, again, and I think it brings me to cue sheets and also to the now and to what you were saying about cleaning up and organizing. The thing that I feel a lot uh, um, from basically a lot of the male people I've worked with in libraries, and I've worked with quite a few, was that I don't want to offend anyone. So sorry if you're that person, but like it can be passive aggressive,
Mm,
and it can also be um, impulsive. So like when I say impulsive, I mean like this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Um, Work on this,
okay.
and or the other way again, like the passive aggressive is like it's just like a very unclear approach. And when I worked with you, it was like you would give me the a very calculated answer that would come for the better good of the track, and I would feel it. I would actually feel it through the message. It would actually give me motivation to keep going with this, because yeah, again, a lot of the times it's just like it's when a composer creates a track, it feels like, and somebody's giving all this criticism, uh, um, just like with no filter, just like blah. It sometimes
Yeah.
it can be really demotivating anyway for artists.
No,
Um,
I get
yeah,
that. Because
yeah.
it's weird because um that some people might approach it like that because my boss, and I don't think he means it as an insult, he's like, yeah, composers are special, they are sensitive, they um need direction, as not as in like you guys need like hand holding or anything. It's more like um that this is my job and that I have to help and not, I don't know. Also, being an asshole in the industry doesn't help either. I mean, I know that being passive doesn't mean you're an asshole. It just being perceived is a big part of the industry, I guess is the best
How
way I can put it.
Yeah, could you expand on that? That's interesting.
Um well, I understand the being perceived as aggressive in emails because when I was working at the Q sheet place, my bosses, they were tone policing me all day long. And when I mean tone policing, I mean like you need to say pleases and thank yous. You need to be more nice in emails. You need to be happier in emails, like all this stuff. But when it comes to cue sheets, all I need to do is ask for a cue sheet and be like, I need you to send this. When can I receive it? That's it. So in my mind, like that's kind of how I'm saying it, but they want me to be, I don't know, so sweet. And I'm like, I'm just asking for a cue sheet. Like that's their job is to send me a cue sheet. And so I'm asking for it. And so I understand that being like people perceiving you in ways where it's like, this is, I feel like that's out of my control. But then there's like moments where I'm like, okay, but if you're working with an artist, um, there's there's a way to create a relationship with them because I mean, in my mind, I would like to create a relationship with composers and artists where I don't have to keep on finding new composers and artists to work with where I don't know what their work ethic is. I don't know what their methods are. I don't know what they're going to give me. I don't know what their style is. It's like why would I want to be rude or be perceived as someone who doesn't even care about their music when they're, you know, this is their craft. So I feel like that's it. It's like you need to pick and choose where it matters. Because to me, it didn't matter if people were perceiving me as rude when I'm asking for cue sheets when they should be sending me cue sheets because that's their job. But it's like people, and where it's like not even high stakes. It's like all I'm doing is asking, like, do I need to add like 1,000 more exclamation points to let them know that I'm happy about it? I don't know. But then there's like moments where it's like, okay, there's ways to be thoughtful in an email when it's something like a song or I don't know, just anything else.
Yeah.
Being perceived as such a big part in the industry just because, it's all relation based. So,
Yeah, that's big. Um, wow, I had a really cool question for that, but it popped out of my head. It'll come back.
yeah.
Um, the oh yeah, I got it. It's to me, I'm reading Rick Rubin's book. Really,
Mm,
I can't recommend it highly enough. It's called The Creative Act. And what he said is in the last chapter I read was there is a difference between craftsmanship and art and artistry,
mm,
and you have to know how to approach either both of them if you want to be successful at what you're doing and feel like you're contributing. So I love that. Like you were speaking to, like, the cue sheets is basically a dry process of you're not, it's not like somebody who's giving you the sheet is like tuning his instrument before he's doing that.
yeah.
Being nice to them is always a bonus, right? But
Yeah.
they have a very clear set of things they need to do. That's craftsmanship. And then when you go up to an artist with the same approach as a craftsman, then it loses the soul in the
Yeah.
way that I see it. And I think you have an edge like that because you have in your mind, and that's you see, I'll always be running back to your story because that's where all the interesting things are, where you want to do something with music, but you don't want to play the instrument, so you go and do something in the gray area. Like you
Yeah.
go and learn management, and with the knowing that you will 95% chances that you'll use it in music somehow. So
Yeah.
like you're going into that gray area with not knowing exactly what that means, if you're going to do cue sheets, if you're going to do whatever. But it's so inspiring to me to hear that you went with that route, and then like the direction kind of figured itself out. It fine-tuned.
Yeah.
So that's really beautiful to me.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. Like, I think when you're jumping into, or like when people who don't want to play music within the industry, when they jump into it, I feel like most people get overwhelmed, which I definitely was. Like when I took the classes and I realized all the different things that I could do and still work within the music industry, it was overwhelming. But you just have to figure out, okay, what actually interests me and where could I see myself like really succeed and use all the tools that I already have in my tool belt and all that stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. So um interesting. I'm interested in, so what was your in cue sheets, what does it look like when you work in a sports advertising company? What does that mean?
yeah. So when I'm working within the cue sheet realm, I'm not really choosing music. We have a library, or we have blanket licenses from multiple different production libraries, and the editors or producers have access to that library, and they can just cue the music immediately to the program and where they're at within the program. And so, as that is being generated, they send that cue sheet that is generated through one of the software systems that they have, and then they send it to us. And then we just make sure that everything is correct, that, composer, publisher, shares, all that stuff is correct. And we send it out to the PROs. And then sometimes the program won't generate the music. And so that means we have to live queue it. And live queuing is like literally watching the program and figuring out what music was played, which is really hard because it's like it's a sports program. And so it's all generic, like rock music typically, and so trying to figure out which track
Wow.
it is out of
Oh my
the
God.
thousands of tracks we have.
Oh my.
Um, and then we have to figure out, okay, what cue sheets are missing because um, for like certain, like let's say a team is going to play. um, what's a good example? I wish I knew like good examples just cause, but the thing is like I don't know sports. Like as soon as I like stopped working there, I've erased all sports teams from my mind.
So
um,
a team A, whatever.
yeah, or let's just say that the Clippers are playing against
Lakers.
another, yeah, playing against the Lakers or somewhere from the East Coast. What, the Brooklyn Nets? So let's say that their Lakers are playing against the Brooklyn Nets. Is it the Nets? No.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Where shout outs
Wherever.
to
Let's
sports people
yeah.
out there where it's not us.
Yeah, I'm so sorry if I just offended anyone. Um, so let's say that they're playing against each other. Well, they're also not just like their cue sheets are both going to be different. They're going to be in completely two different regions. So we have to collect the cue sheets for pregame, the game, and then post game. So there's going to be three separate cue sheets for both teams, and then they might have, let's say, like another game in the day. So there could be like six cue sheets just for one team who's playing maybe like twice a day. And so we have to like send out a missing cue sheet report to all the regions to be like, hey, we don't have these cue sheets from you. And so that's why you have to reach out to the people and be like, hey, I need your cue sheet because we're getting behind. We're now 3 months from said program. I need you to send it over. And so yeah, it's just like a lot of admin work. Like there wasn't anything super creative with it. It was all business. With this job, it's much more creative. And so I feel like with that job, I have like all admin work like under my belt. Like I can make and create and organize anything I need to get something done and make it look pretty. And you can find it anywhere. Like I will have a spreadsheet for you. But with this, it's much more like creative. Like I'm balancing both. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, and it's again, it's so cool to hear the transferable skills. Like even if you've suffered in that place, I can still hear you saying, "Well, it did give me some organizational skills." Like regardless of whether I know who the Clippers are and who the Red Sox are, like
Yeah.
you've done things that are you cannot unlearn now. That it's just like um, embedded in you, and this is like and this is from my perspective, it's something that I wouldn't be able to do for more than 2 days in a row. I would probably have a meltdown after that. And so now, taking it a bit forward, your job at Chroma, what does that mean? And you were speaking in the beginning to how much you like working in the trailer space.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to kind of expand on that. How is it different than other spaces, and what uh what what keeps that alive for you? Because it actually sounds like you feel like you have a meaning in this job, like you have a contribution.
Yeah. Well, the trailer space, I mean, I feel like I've always liked trailers, like going like I like to be at the movies on time so I can actually see the trailer. People are always like, "Oh, it's fine. We'll just miss the trailers." And I'm like, "But I want to watch the trailers." Um, and so, um, and so when I first got the job at Seismic Productions, that first job before the sports broadcasting, I didn't even know how niche the whole trailer world is. Like, they even have their own, like, mini award show, just like how there's a Guild of Music Supervisors award show, they put together something for the trailer realm. Um, so it's just very, very niche. Um, and so this side of it, like, I'm on the side of supplying music to the trailer houses. So they'll send us over a brief of like, hey, this is what we're looking for. This is an example of the style. We need something with maybe this type of instrumentation. Could you please send that over by this time? And so then we go into our library, we scour it, put in, our key like words that we put in when we like put in all the tags for each or like the descriptors for each song. And then we send it out. Some people will ask for stems of our music, which kind of like gets excited because it's like, ooh, okay, well, at least we're like somewhat in like the running if they're asking for stems because I mean if they ask for eighths or like an instrumental, that just like means that they're probably testing 100 things out. But if they're asking for stems, I'm like, ooh, they might actually be like cutting some things, really trying to work this song in. But of course, that doesn't mean that it's going to actually get cut with that song. It just means we're really in the running. Um, and so yeah, it's a lot of that. A lot of just like sending people like our music. We do a lot of custom work at Chroma. And so like right now, like they love one of our songs, but they need it to be longer. Like the tail end needs to be longer, more climactic. And so that's what they're doing with that song right now. They'll do, customs for pieces that already have music within the movie, basically just trailerizing it, making it more, you know, dramatic, thematic. And then what else do we do? I mean, we do a lot, honestly. Like I feel like I have like so many different hats on in this job, which is actually like really exciting because I get bored very easily. And so when there's like something new to do or I have like 10 different new like different things that I have to accomplish within the day, I'm like, "Oh, finally something interesting." Um but oh, there's something else I was going to say. It's lost. It's gone. Um, but but yeah, we call ourselves like a premium library because we mostly specialize in trailer music. Like a lot of premium or a lot of production libraries just mostly do like stuff for like TV shows, like all the background music. Like for Lifetime or like I said for sports broadcasting, but we again specialize in trailer music, um, by doing customs, by having these amazing theatrical cinematic pieces, that are just, structured in the way that you would see any trailer song be structured. And so that's why I always like when I send out briefs to composers, I always add like YouTube clips of examples of songs that we want so that you guys can put it in your head, be like, "Oh, okay, like there's like hits here, there's movement to the piece. It's not just all one thing." Sometimes I will ask people to put their music over the clip that I send them to see if it has the same effect. Um, just because just because sometimes like what I'm saying isn't translating over email and I'm like totally aware. I'm like, okay, you know what? This isn't I'm obviously not communicating very well right here. So hopefully like maybe visualizing it would be much easier for the composer than just listening to me talk to them, you know? So yeah, this job is like really helping me get my skills of working with composers because I've never had to do that before, but I think so far I'm doing it well. I think I'm getting good feedback from most composers, just because I want everyone to be like proud of what not just like what we have to put within the Chroma library, but that what you guys are also contributing, and I want it to be syncable. I want you guys to get your syncs. I know that mostly I wish composers would understand that it's a numbers game sometimes. Sometimes you just have to get so much stuff within a library to get synced, and then sometimes it's just like dumb luck, you know? But I'm just advocating for all of you guys, honestly. At least
Mm,
within this job.
yeah. So, in Chroma as a premium agency for trailer music, do you also get to do projects that are not trailer specific?
Um, we're trying to, branch out into the ad, like, like, Macy's commercials, like, we've had, like, some Kohl's and J.C. Penney's, but we want to do more of that stuff, you know? Or even, like, car commercials, I think that'd be really fun. We do, a lot of video games. The video game realm is, very, I don't know, ripe because there's so like if you go on YouTube and look up video game like teasers or gear trailers or just like anything, there's like millions of views on each of these videos and they've only been out for like a couple weeks with millions of views. So it's wild. So yeah, we try to really get our foot within the video game realm.
Yeah, video games are it's crazy. It's so underlooked and underlooked or overlooked. I don't know. But yeah, it's just like not looked at as as prestigious as like the trailer world, but it is actually more revenue generating. That's what Tom from Brand X said, that the game industry is just like so much more lucrative, but nobody knows about it. So it's
Yeah, it is
uh,
very, very lucrative. I mean, especially for like the trailers that they put out on YouTube, like all the time, like they're putting out trailers like 2 or 3 videos or a week sometimes. And so like the ability to get your music synced there is massive and honestly more likely, at least for composers, just because, trailers only come out like, they have teasers, they have a couple teasers, and then they have, like, 1 or 2 main trailers, but typically only 1 main trailer. Um, and so, yeah, I agree that video games do get, like, overlooked, and they need I don't know. At least I'm looking at them. I want to hope that I'm zoning in on them and seeing what briefs we're getting, and if we're lacking anything in there, then I'm putting together briefs to send out to composers and,
yeah,
I just want to make sure we have everything in our library, which is another thing that libraries, I guess, working at a library is making me aware of. It's like you have to see where our weaknesses are so we can make our library like really well versed.
Mm, yeah, and unique at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't want the same generic music that all the other libraries have. It's like that's easy to get. Everyone has them. We want something that, you know, because our music is getting licensed for like on average at least 20 to 30, maybe $40,000 for from a direct license. Um, and so I want to make sure that all of our music is, that top tier of being licensed for that much. Like, we're not asking for that because we think we're ignorant, but it's like our music is really, like, good, you know? I think it's very I don't know, it's perfect. It truly is, like, trailer ready for the most part. So,
Wow. Wow, wow, that was big. So, like, it, it's amazing. So, I feel like when you expressed the most emotion to when you were speaking was in a few points. First of all, like the conversation of like succeeding for you and the composer. Another thing that I got is just like that the exciting, you get a lot of probably briefs from trailer houses or whatnot and probably send them a few tracks, but the exciting part is when they're actually okay, can you send the stems please for this, which doesn't
yeah,
mean the final thing, right? Like it is. So
yeah,
I would love to dig in a little bit into this process, because this hasn't been done on on the podcast, where you are doing this back and forth, right, with a bunch of production houses that are like, oh, we need a song that sounds like this, that feels like this, that da da da.
yeah,
What does that process look like for you? You probably have to be quick with the turnaround, and like
yeah.
what does it look like?
Yeah, we have our stems, already in links ready to go, because we would just want them to be on hand so we can send them out literally within minutes. Like, we don't wanna reach out to the composers and be like, "Hey, can you export your stems? They need to look like this," and then we have to, like, put all the tagging on them to make sure that, like, it's actually, like, ours so that um, composer or the house doesn't get confused of like, wait, where did these stems come from? But it's they'll know it's ours because we've tagged them. And so that's already ready. Like we do that with all of our songs. Um, and so then we send it out. And then honestly, it's a waiting game. You wait, you wait, you wait. And then typically trailer houses do not deal with their own with the licensing part of it. Basically, they're just paid to create the campaign. That's their job. And so then they send off the campaign or the everything that they've edited to back to the studio that they were, hired to create the campaign for. And then the studio comes to us and they're like, "Hey, we like this song. Here, could we get a quote request for it?" And so basically, like that's typically what happens. It's like we go back and forth with a quote request. Like we ask for the highest amount possible. Like we have a range of like of an ideal of like, okay, these are the rights they're asking for. This is like, is it in perpetuity? Is it global or is it just based on a region? Um, what else? Like, is this just online, just streaming, or is this like everywhere? Is this going to be in theaters or is this going to be excluding theaters? So, the typical one is all media worldwide in perpetuity. So basically, they can use it whenever, wherever, forever. Um, so, so that would be what we would like quote back to them at like our highest like 30, 40K. And then if it's a custom work, like sometimes it depends on how much a custom can go for. Um, but depending on how much they've worked on it, like we'll start quoting probably at 100K and then we'll meet somewhere in the middle. Just because custom work, they've been working on one piece for a movie that's hopefully going to come out this year. They've been working on this custom piece for a year. So we're going to see how much they can get from this. Just because it's like if you're working on a piece for a year, um, that's like a lot of like unpaid work, you know, that you're just asking someone to do. And so all of those hours are honestly what's probably going to be asked for within the license, not just like the music, but like, hey, these are the hours that were put in. We put in a year's worth of work on this music. Like, so I can only imagine how much my boss is going to quote for that. I'm going to be very excited. I know I'm going to like gasp. I'm like, I always gasp when I hear like some of the quotes. I'm like, okay, for sure, get that money. Like, just because I'm still like figuring out like what's a typical quote for something. So I'm still like learning that, getting that under my belt. Because it's not honestly, sometimes it's not an exact science. Sometimes it's based on, okay, are you a small little company or are you Disney? You know, who has the money? And so it's not an exact science, it just depends. Um, so yeah, so then we go back and forth with quote requests. If the quote gets approved and the song gets approved, and then they send us a license, I send them an invoice, then they send us the money, and then we pay out the composers. So sometimes it could be fast, like super fast. Sometimes it could take a like I said, a year to get something paid out. Like sometimes it's wild. Um, but that's the job. And that's why you have to stay organized because you have to realize like, oh wait, who hasn't paid us out yet? Let's see if this even got used or placed. Like we should ask for some confirmations like, hey, like, where are we on this custom or where are you guys on this track? Like, you asked for a quote, like, we just want to make sure if it was or was not used. And so it's just a lot of keeping track of everything um, because you don't want to get lost in the mix and not get your composers paid or, illegally having your music used. So,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
happened actually once recently within this job. Um, but when that happens, they are so fast and they are so quick. They're like, "Oh my god, we're so sorry. Like that shouldn't have happened." All that stuff, and so they're so fast to like paying you out, and like their negotiation just kind of lessens because
Yeah.
they didn't get your permission to
No
use.
leverage.
Yeah, the leverage is gone, and so, like, that was very interesting to see. So yeah, I'm just, like, learning a lot. There's so many experience here that I'm sure that I still have not seen yet, but I'm excited to see them all.
Wow. Wow. Jordan, you just dropped so much value. Like it's and yeah, and I mean, again, I've had a lot of actually CEOs and heads of labels, and I just love how um you just put it into terms for the every person to understand how this actually works. And I really appreciate you laying it like that. I know the conversation. So anyone who's listening, the conversation's all over the place. But I'm just
Yeah.
getting so I'm just getting so inspired by little things as we go that I have to circle back to things like, I mean, to the quality of the music and the quality that you demand of yourself and of the composer. The thing that I've picked up with you is that you've sent me actually campaigns, you've sent me YouTube videos of
Mhm.
things that I absolutely am fanatic for. So like you've actually hit all the boxes so many boxes with the references you sent me, and I had a call with my friend, and I was like, oh my god, not only am I working with this library that I've been wanting to work with, but they're also sending me movies that I actually, that's my life goals kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it just created this feeling um of feeling like something that's bigger, which I think is a big takeaway for composers. Like, if you are working on something and you don't really feel like they are into what you're doing, or they are giving you things that are not in the direction of what you are looking to make an impact in, then just like, maybe it's a good time to think about, is this a company that you want to work with, you know? um which is, it's yeah, it's giant, it's huge.
No, I agree. Like, sometimes you just have to realize, like, when the relationship isn't working, but, like, the thing is, like, no one wants to, like, be that person and be like, I don't think this is gonna work out." Which is fair because you just want, everyone to get their chance and shot. But sometimes they're just, like, sometimes people aren't ready for it, because I get so many composers where their music just sounds so, rudimentary, basically, so synth. Everything sounds fake and faux, like they're just not there yet,
mm,
unfortunately. And sometimes you have
mhm.
to be like, "Listen,
Yeah.
you got work to do." Because I get so many submissions, and I don't wanna be um that person to just, like, dismiss them and be like, "Oh, sorry, we're just not sending or accepting submissions right now." But sometimes it's just better to let them know, like, "Hey, this is probably the reason." Like, if you're not hearing back from a lot of libraries, like, this is the reason, like, your music is not up to par yet. Like, you need to continue to work. Like, you need to, like, what, people say, put in the 1,000 hours. Like, you're just like a musician like anyone else. Like, yes, like, you don't have a lot of, like, actual instruments on your hands or in your on your person, but this computer system that you are working with is your instrument, and you need to really perfect it, because for a library that wants to get really good music out there and wants to stay at the premium side of things, it's like you just have to be up to par. Um, and sometimes, like, I'll make the mistake of like, "Oh, wait, this music actually sounds really good." Um, but then they'll send other submissions, or, like, I'll send them the brief, and then they'll reply with music, and I'm like, "This is not what I remember your music sounding like." And so it's like, I'm sorry, that's a no." And so it's just like, being more careful and thoughtful when you're listening to people's music, um, which is hard because I've never had to do this before, and so, I'm learning as I'm working with composers. And then also, I guess a note for composers is that, you are being able to reference trailer campaigns that you're really excited about, but sometimes it's not about even being excited for the campaign. It's about giving the producers and editors what they need and what they want in the track. Um, um, and it's just like another way, like, of broadening your scope of getting your music synced, um, because it's not just like a typical sound. Like, there's so many other trailers out there where it's like, right now you're working on this moody, dramatic, like, hip hop sounding music right now. Like, that's you. Um, but then you have to, like, get out of your bubble and of your head and be like, "You know what? Maybe it's time to branch out and try this genre instead, because that's gonna just make me a better, well-rounded artist." Because then you can learn to bring that instrumentation back into something that you actually really enjoy. So it's just learning and keeping your mind open and being like, "Oh, well, I don't even want to do this." It's like it's not about what you want, it's about learning. you know?
Yeah, that's big. It's not about what you want, it's about learning. That's a drop the mic. That's drop the mic. That's a huge one. I mean, yeah, and I appreciate you saying that because yeah, I want to do a whole podcast actually about this, but if somebody is I see a lot of people, especially in the custom realm, because it's not really normal to do a custom in a year, but these people are usually they have really fast deadlines
Yeah.
to go through, and I see a lot of jadedness in that space, and generally in sync. Like people doing tension for a year, it can really affect you as an artist. Me, I would say, and not
Yeah.
you, but being able to every music session when an artist is opening a new canvas per se, just like trying to stretch it a little bit. So if it's, I mean, trying to use African drums like you gave me once, like just like using African drums in a trailer, or like using a sample that you've never used and making it the making it the main sound, making it the hook, and just taking and going out and exploring out of the comfort zone is also in my opinion, it's so important to be able to balance that craftsmanship, yes, customs, but also being able to explore and be curious. And that's what I've taken from you, because uh, um again, working with you has taken my artistry to a new level, because I've given you ideas which we've polished together, and now I'm like, after I'm listening to it, I'm like, damn, like this is teamwork. So I'm super happy that we're coming on the hour really soon, and I want to be cognizant of your time. So I wanted to ask: is there any last parting piece of advice you'd like to give people before we, and also like a way maybe to contact you or whatnot, before we finish this?
Yeah. I think this just goes not just for like the composers, musicians, but like anyone who even wants to work in the music industry. It's like you just have to like work and work harder than anyone else. Um, but that doesn't mean you have to grind your life away, because I think that everyone needs that balance. Because I did that when I was going through school. I was going to school, internships, like, my schedule was filled to the brim, and I had nothing left to give. Um, so it is about putting in that 1,000 hours, but then also finding the balance of, like, "Wait, why am I doing this again? Am I just trying to prove to everyone else that, um, people are?" Because there's so many people who are like, the music industry, like, "Isn't that really hard? Like, are you sure you wanna do that?" Um But it's like, it's not proving to them anything. Like, yes, that could be a great sense of motivation, but it's like, why do you want to do this? Is this bringing you joy? The Marie Kondo, like that cleaning lady on Netflix.
Yeah.
You have to take a look. Is this bringing you joy? Is this actually what I? Oops, sorry. Is this something that I really, 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 really want to do? Um, and don't be ashamed if you realize by the end of the day, like, you know what, this isn't it for me. But to those who do want to do this, work, put in the work. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to, like, oh, like, yes, you want to be a music supervisor. That's what I want to do. Don't be afraid to, like, okay, now let's go to the music library. Let's see what this is about. Oh, let's become a licensing like manager. Let's see what this is about. It's honestly just becoming well rounded and not putting yourself in a box, because that is honestly climbing up and figuring out what you want to do in the music industry. It is what people say, it is not linear. Sometimes it is very much horizontal. You're just going to be going like this, collecting all the things before you can even slightly move up. So yeah, I think that's my advice is just keep going and learning because that's all you can do. And then where people can find me, I mean, I don't really, my socials are not dedicated to music at all. Um, but people can always add me on LinkedIn, um, just Jordan Smith. I'll be under, like, if you do, I know there's 100 Jordan Smiths out there. Um, Jordan Smith and Chroma, you could probably find me there because that is dedicated to all business.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
Awesome. Perfect.
Jordan, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to get your album out. So close. So close.
Hell yeah.
So close.